Next, we need to rank the ideas in order of importance. Perhaps we can start with business activities because they are the most widespread use of the internet at present, and then go on to talk about education, which is very important, and finally discuss personal communication. However, we also need to discuss the positive and negative aspects. At this stage, we need to decide whether to start with our three categories and list the positive and negative aspects within each, or to start with the positive aspects, listing all three categories in a row, and then to move on to the negative ones. Either organization system is possible. Here is a suggestion about how to construct topic strategies for the first system. There is no doubt that the internet has brought about an almost unbelievable change in the way business and banking is conducted. Next, we must go on to negative aspects. So our next paragraph could begin something like this. However, since the internet is not available to most people in developing countries, it is clear that the gap between the rich and the poor countries has actually widened enormously since online business and banking have been introduced. If we continue like this, we would end up with 6 paragraphs in the body, 3 categories into positive and negative, which is too long for the text essay. So to keep it shorter and to have a little variety, you could introduce the positive and negative ideas together in the next paragraph topic sentence like this. In education and research, the situation is similar. The internet has made revolutionary changes in these fields, but the lack of access for poor people and poor societies is creating serious inequalities. Notice how, if you have a point that appears twice in your list, you can use it to link one paragraph to the next, as above. Widen the gap, similar serious inequalities. Finally, we need to mention communication in general, which is already covered by some of the above points, as well as personal communication. Again, we can link the concepts. The internet basically involves communication, not only in business and education as mentioned above, but also for personal information exchange. There is, of course, an almost endless number of ways of introducing the same concepts at the beginning of each paragraph. The main points to remember are: A. The introductory paragraph introduces the main idea of the essay, and the topic sentences introduce the main supporting ideas. B. The topic sentence introduces the main idea of the paragraph, and the following sentences provide supporting ideas for it. Vocabulary in the body. Connectors will occur throughout the body of your essay. The most common ones are those that are used for listing and for addition, for consequences, and for emphasis. The basic listing connectors are firstly, secondly, the third feature, etc. Finally, in conclusion. These are the most boring ones. Rather, the better are the ones that show additions, both and also, not only but also Furthermore, moreover, in addition, note, do not overuse these connectors. It is very boring to read one of these at the beginning of each sentence. Note also that it is better to put also in the second position in the sentence, not at the beginning. The most common connectors showing effects, results, or consequences are before, consequently, for this reason, as a result, because of this. Note also, all of the above must start a new sentence. They cannot be used to join clauses. For example, not everyone has access to the internet. Therefore, this divides communities is wrong. You can either use a semicolon or use and therefore. Connectors for emphasis are useful and include, in fact, what is more, in particular. When giving examples, you can use, for example, for instance, such as, be careful with the latter, such as can not begin a clause. It is a preposition followed by a noun or gerund, and please never use such like, which is not correct English. There are, of course, many other connectors. Make yourself familiar with the most useful ones and be careful to use them accurately or your logic will appear faulty. The conclusion. The conclusion need not be long. In fact, it can be as short as one sentence. A good conclusion will not be merely repetition of the main topic statement of the essay or of your proposition statement in the introduction, since that is rather boring to read and does not show your English skills. Nevertheless, it should contain some kind of summary of the main argument or proposition of the essay. It is also a good idea to include a comment on the implications of your conclusion. If, for instance, you make a recommendation, you can comment on what may happen if your recommendation is followed. For example, for the topic that children's viewing of television should be controlled. Therefore, it is important to limit the amount of television that children watch, otherwise they will suffer educationally and socially as they grow up. Or, therefore, if children's television viewing is sensibly supervised, it will allow them to enjoy certain programs as well as to develop the skills that they need. Note the paraphrases for the word control as with the introduction. If you want to stay close to the topic statement, it is desirable to attempt to paraphrase it. In some cases, you can even avoid a paraphrase completely by summarizing a new way. For example, children do not always know what is best for them, and in this case, as in many other cases, the guidance of parents is essential if they are to grow up as well-balanced people. In some cases, a conclusion may consider possible future outcomes. For example, the internet has already become widespread and almost indispensable, and it can be expected that in future access will become cheaper and easier for everyone in the world. Or, although atomic energy can never run out, unlike fossil fuels, it is clear that other, less dangerous sources of energy will need to be developed for future generations.